Hey everybody, this is Rachel Bork and Cassie Munger with Ascent Financial, and you are listening to the Legacy Leaders Podcast. And today we're going to be talking about transition success rate. So I'm going to set the stage with some statistics. And so we're talking just family business in general, not specific to farm. So if you think about the founding generation, or G1, or we say senior generation sometimes, if we've got 10 businesses starting with that generation, the chance of those businesses transitioning to their kids, so G2 is about 30%. So if you start with 10, now you're down to 3.
That's crazy. It's so crazy to think about that.
Yeah,
you kind of just assume, whether it's family businesses or someone else coming in, that the business just continues on, right?
Yeah.
It's a crazy metric.
Yeah. So we're going to get crazier here. So if you think about, G1, the senior generation, the founding generation's grandkids, the chance of that business, so you had 10 making it to their grandkids, one of those businesses will remain. So I don't share this to deter you or to make you think it's incredibly hard, but we're going to talk a little bit more today about why transitions fail, and then we'll talk about how do we make them successful. So Cassie, talk to us about why they fail.
Yeah, and that's just it. I mean, when you talk about already, we're talking about that, 70% really that are successful, right? That 30%, honestly, the bulk of the reason why those transitions fail is communication and trust, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and you'd think it's more technical than that, right? That it's just got to do something to do with financials, right? Or it's got to be something to do with taxes or different things. But it's honestly the people, right? It's amazing the people that we work with that can't get along, that can't communicate, right? They don't know how to talk to one another, and then it's the question of, is the lack thereof or lack of communication a cause or a result, right? Is the reason why, things aren't good because they just don't communicate? Or is there something else going on, right, in their personal lives, within the business, that's actually the real reason, but then in result, they don't communicate, right? So communication, it's not just communication itself, right? It's really those underlying factors of why aren't people communicating? Are there family members that just literally don't like each other, right? And then we talk about trust, and think about that a little bit. You've got, partners, what if there's a trust violation, right? We've seen it where partners are embezzling from the company, right? We've seen it where, obviously there's, maybe some infidelity, issues within marriages. And what does that do for the business and the people that are a part of it? When you think about, transition planning and setting up, wills and buy-sell agreements and these types of things. And without that, what that can do to a business when you have a spouse that wants to take everything, right, in a divorce. These are real things. And no one ever is in that situation until they are in that situation, right? Until it's too late. But yeah, I mean, 60% of the reasons they fail is because of communication and trust. It's just such a huge component. And at Ascent, we focus so much on that soft side, right? And just understanding the people and the dynamics within the business, because ultimately that's going to be most important. Really, it's really about working with the people along with the financials to really move them to action, right? And move them through change. And that is the biggest reason why they fail. The other reason is lack of preparation, and that's about 25%. Poor strategies, right? Or just the strategies, don't align, or the goals of the people within the business don't align. And they're just making bad decisions. Some of it's just, maybe not good financial reporting, or poor risk management. They're not really focusing on the business and knowing what needs to be put in place, right, to mitigate that risk. And then about 15% are kind of all those other things. It might be tax related. It might be an issue, that came up with certain documents that were put in place that maybe weren't done correctly, right? It might be issues had with other professionals that they work with, kind of just all those other nuances that are aside from that. But it's really only 15%. The bulk of it is just not really being prepared and setting your business up, to really persevere through that. And then just the people within the business. That's where I think the biggest struggle is.
Yep.
Or actually, we know and we see that that's where the biggest struggle is.
Right. Yeah. And communication is such a big thing, right? And even if you think about not just a business, but a marriage, right?
Yeah.
If you got to communicate with your partner, trust them, like it's the fundamentals, and that's so important.
Yeah. And, a lot of what we do with Ascent, we'll do disc assessments, right? Because everyone, we all have different ways of doing things, right? We all communicate in different ways. And it's important that people within a business, people within a household, a family, understand, right, how that person needs to be communicated to. And, maybe that person takes a little bit of time to think through things, right? They can't just give you an answer today, right? Maybe they need time to process it. And I think it is important to understand that as you're working alongside people within the business.
Yeah. I know my dad. I love my dad, but I'm like, Dad, I'll ask him a question and I want an answer. And it's like, he's thinking, he's processing, and that's just his style, and that's totally fine. So I know that now, but at first I would just get frustrated. So.
Absolutely. And it's just a hard realization, and I think even just employees, right, within the business, you can be the most effective leader by truly understanding the people that work alongside you,
what
right?
motivates, right? It might not be money. It might be vacation. It might be recognition. Yeah, there's all these different things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I think that's about all for today. So thanks for tuning in to Legacy Leaders, and we will talk to you next time.
Thank you.